Welcome to the Two Blokes Chatting radio show on 94.7 The Pulse. Music, interviews, news, and, well, two blokes chatting. Now, here are the two blokes.
Martin, good morning to you.
How you going, Rob and Neil? Good to be here.
Good to be anywhere at our age, Martin. I can tell you that for a fact.
Now, this is an important thing, but of course the world of coronavirus, COVID-19, Connie virus, call it whatever you like, has changed things completely. So you guys can't all get around in a hot, sweaty bunch and keep each other warm during the evening like you did last year in the stands of Cardinia Park. How's it going to work this year to still allow you to do the good work that you do?
Well, it has changed a fair bit. So last year everyone's been at GMHBA Stadium, and this year I think all of the across the country are getting together. So Geelong had its own one last year, and this year it is on the 18th of June, and all of the country is going to get together and do a virtual sleep out. So it does give an opportunity for everyone to join in without having to, leave the home a bit. So I think it's probably a really good test case.
So the rules are you've got to find somewhere in your own home, but not the normal digs. So
yes.
It will be easy for the likes of Neil, who after the second bottle of Shiraz would crash on the couch anyway. Yes. But for others,
that's harsh.
What are they allowed and not allowed to do to be fair dinkum?
So look, they're probably just giving you three options. They're saying on the couch, they're saying in the car, or in the backyard. But as long as you're not, it's basically a representation and to get people to think about what it's like to sleep rough.
Well, I reckon the car option is the best one for me, because I remember as a youth having to do that on odd occasions to look after it. But I would imagine the motor vehicle, as well as bus shelters, there's all sorts of things that we don't comprehend, but the reality is so many people, for them it is their every night existence.
That's exactly right. And this is the thing, you realise after a night sleeping that it's not comfortable and it's difficult to get on with life the next day.
And I think that's the point of it, Martin. Last year I did it, as you recall, and I'm going to do it again this year. And unlike what Rob is suggesting, I will be sleeping in my garage, brackets on a couch, close brackets. But I think the thing that really got on my goat last year, apart from the fact you're sleeping on cold concrete with a bit of cardboard between you and the concrete, was where we were kind of outside but not outside, which gave us a bit of an advantage over people who do it regularly. That train that goes through at that railway station at Kilgour Street, or not the station, the railway crossing, you hear they've got to blow the whistle, to start off with, and then ding, 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 for the entire duration of the train going through, and then it blows the whistle again because it's going into the tunnel every 20 minutes from 4 a.m. through to 1 a.m. I don't know how the person lives next door there, and so we got 3 hours of no trains going through. That in itself was bad enough.
Yeah, there's not a lot of sleep going on.
But the good thing was, we could then go home. We had the choice then to go home and have a hot shower and something to eat, as distinct from these people that we are supporting. Presumably coronavirus hasn't made that go away. If anything, the homelessness thing would have become worse, I would have thought.
Well, this is the problem with what's happening at the moment. At the start of the year, at St Vincent and Paul, we had a meeting in Geelong here, and we discussed that the situation in Geelong was as bad as we've ever seen it. And then all of a sudden, in March, everything just got stopped. So there is an enormous amount of people out there that are suffering, and they're not really getting any assistance or any help because of the fact they're staying at home and they're not telling anyone. And what we really want to say is they've got to get on the phone, they've got to reach out and let people know what's happening, so then we can find other ways to... See, at the moment we can't do our normal home visits, but we can get on the phone and we can refer and we can direct people to where they need to go.
But I guess that also adds a bit of a challenge, doesn't it? Because a number of folk on the street probably don't have access to a phone as easily as the rest of us as well.
That's exactly right, they don't. But you'll find that a lot of people, like I've been dealing with someone in the last 12 months, a young lady who we sort of do a visit with every month, and she doesn't sleep rough, but she sleeps in a different house every month. So every time we see her, she's in someone else's home.
Mm.
And that's, in the last few months, she hasn't called. And and she changes her phone all the time. So it's very difficult to wonder how she's going. We've helped her for 12 months, and that they're the sort of things that you just don't know of how they're going, and they will come out eventually when things go back to normal, and that's when we really need to be on the go and get ready to help.
Martin, one of the things about this, the myth about homelessness, many from a privileged setting are of the opinion that these people are causing their own issue. They could probably find somewhere if they really wanted to. They're out there because of their fault in life, but it's clearly not the case, and there'd be so many different reasons why someone is just unable to find accommodation. The worst case scenarios, what are some of the worst that you've seen in your time?
Well, and you're spot on there, because homelessness is a reflection of another problem. So homelessness is not the problem. It's a reflection of their life and what's happened in their life and why they can't get a home. And the perfect example, I think I did a bit of research on Neil. Last year, Neil, how much did you raise for the sleep out?
I would have thought about $3,000, I think.
Yep. So the exact time last year, when you were sleeping out, I had a call from a health worker for a gentleman that was suffering a chronic illness, and she said to me he was going to lose his home. He had a foreclosure on his home. And through the next month I had dealings with the family. So we're talking a mum and dad and 6 kids.
Yep.
Who have lived in the same home for 15 years. And that through his chronic illness, he lost his job, he lost everything. And he couldn't do anything because of the chronic illness. So the health worker said to me, if he doesn't get this money, and it was a fraction more than $3,000. So pretty much every dollar you raised, our conference had a discussion about whether we should pay the outstanding amount. And the money raised from the CEO sleep out gave us the confidence to say we will fix that problem.
Yeah.
Now, I can guarantee you that stopped that family from being homeless. And there you've got a mum and dad and 6 kids who then they don't go sleep in town on the street. They split up and they get divided between their mum and dad, cousins. It destroys the family, and you're not sure what that leads to. And I've seen it before where that sort of stuff leads to homelessness, serious homelessness, because the dad feels guilty that he couldn't keep the house. And then the families get scattered and they might not get back together. So at St Vincent and Paul, we look at that situation and say, we can stop that in its tracks. And the money that you raised goes straight to that family and stops that problem in its tracks. So we don't see the result of it. And I would think that that's what St Vincent and Paul does best, is we stop it in its tracks.
Because I think a lot of people associate... I'm feeling pretty good about myself at the minute, I've got to say. A lot of people think of homelessness as those people who are begging in the city and who are annoying and get in your road and trip you over because they just want a couple of bucks to get home, quote unquote. And you don't sort of think of families, do you? You don't think of the exact same story that you just gave out then. Yep. That's the sort of thing you're doing. Whereas if you think about the sort of people on the street, got a cigarette hanging out of the corner of their mouth, you think, well, come on, guys, pull your act together. But those sort of stories where it does, in fact, destroy a family become really more pertinent, don't they?
Yeah. And look, when you walk past someone on the street and they're on the ground begging, that person had an issue 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And if someone stood up for them 15 years ago, you could have stopped it, right? The damage that's been done in that time, the bad decisions, the lack of support, the lack of love, the lack of care, leads to that. That person ending up there, the journey is much longer. It is decades.
Yeah, it's not something that they did yesterday and go, I think I'm going to go and live on the street tomorrow and put my hand out.
And often they've given up hope on life because of, and we see it every day, St Vincent and Paul visits homes. And we see people on that path, and we try and intervene, because once it gets to that stage, it's so difficult for that person to recover.
Martin, on a personal level, you've got to filter and vet these cases, and like all situations, I imagine there's a very small percentage of, let's say, people who work the system. How tough is it for you to to maybe make those decisions that this is a genuine or non-genuine case?
Well, and look, just a quick rundown on how St Vincent de Paul works. Basically, you have the Vinnie's op shops, right? And they raise money, and that goes to the St Vincent de Paul welfare. So there's conferences in Geelong. So if someone in a suburb in Geelong rings up our call centre, it goes to the conference that correlates to that suburb. So I'm in charge of 9 suburbs in Geelong. So we will get maybe 5 calls in a day, and then we go to that house. This is usually out of COVID-19 sort of stuff. But we would go to the house and we would sit down and have a discussion with them, and we'd talk about where we could, help them. And that's where it's so important for St Vincent de Paul, because when you're in someone's home and you're a guest and you're there to serve them, you really get a great perspective of how they're going and what their need is. And I think that for the people that, there are people that do, bludge off the system, I suppose, but you soon find when you sit down in love and care and discuss it, that those people say, we don't want to do this. So that they will sort of exclude themselves from the system.
That face-to-face is very important to gain the full depth of the story, doesn't it, in so many walks of life.
Yeah, and we do focus a lot on families. So we try and focus a lot on, because often we see, even those people that you say, like, they're fudging the system, they've had a really bad upbringing. And they were the kids of the families that went through that problem.
Yeah.
They don't get there through getting a fantastic education at Geelong Grammar, They get there from a lack of love and a lack of care from society. And that's how they get a bit burnt. So we always, we never reject anyone, really. We always try and help wherever we can. Now, sometimes it's out of our scope. It has to go to a medical professional.
You are a good man, Martin Rowan. I can tell that by the tone of your voice and what you do. So we wish you all the very best with this wonderful project. I don't know how much you got last year, and are you budgeting to get similar despite the changed circumstances?
Look, I think the budget last year we raised about 227,000. That was just in Geelong.
And that was about 70 CEOs, wasn't it? It wasn't a big number. So the dollars that we were supported with were just phenomenal. I set out to get $500 and got over $3,000. People were really generous once they heard the story. Yep.
And look, I can guarantee that in Geelong, we rely on that money. It gives us confidence to go into a home and say, this person needs this. We've got the money there. Let's give it to them. And across Australia, I think they raised $7.9 million. Now this year, I think that's been revised way down because,
I just had a look at the fundraisers page, and they're talking a budget of $2.5 million, and at the moment it's almost exactly half.
Yep. And we've only, it does build a lot over the next, fortnight. It will build a lot, but we need everyone to get behind it, and we need everyone to try to sort of see just appreciation of what people go through by sleeping not in a comfortable bed.
So a couple of important pieces of information before we let you go. First of all, we've got to say hello to Jen, who arranged this interview. She's having a listen, so we had to behave ourselves throughout it, of course.
More me on behaving myself.
Good morning, Jen.
So if someone knows a family, or a family's listening to this and they need to get in touch with you guys to get some support, how do they go about doing that?
So in Geelong, the welfare number is 52219170.
9170.
Yep, if you give, basically, if you ring between 9 and about 11:30, Monday to Friday, most times someone will visit you that day. Now, at the moment, we're doing phone visits. So someone will ring you and organise. But look, we're hoping that won't last for too long, because we're much better off when we can get into the home and actually have a real good discussion.
Sure. So it's 52219170.
That's it.
And the other really important URL I'm going to give out is ceosleepout.org.au, ceosleepout, all one word, .org.au. If you go in there, there's a button that says donate, and I'm going to be a bit self-indulgent here and say if you click on that, you're able to search for a CEO, look for the name Neil Butler.
Yeah, do that.
And every cent that I earn, of course, by sleeping rough for that night, for 7 hours, not forever, is going to go and do the support the great work you guys do. Just look for that on ceosleepout.org.au.
Excellent stuff.
That is good. I did notice that your highest donor at the moment is your daughter, Neil.
Yes, indeed. She was very quick to support me, which
Very
is
good.
which is nice. She lives in a town called Meenian that's got a. It's been mentioned 3 times already in the program. We'll have to start getting sponsorship from the township of Meenian, I think. Thanks for your time this morning, Martin. It's really good, and we might have a chat to you post the 18th of June if we can, and just see how it all went and see how things are going.
Sounds good.
Good on you, mate. Keep up the good work.
Excellent.
Yeah.
There he is, Martin Rowan, the president of the Geelong chapter, Geelong Conference of St Vinny's.